Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a world unchanged by cities, untouched by highways, and unscarred by the footprints of billions. A North America still locked in deep prehistory, where mammoths roam, where ancient forests stretch endlessly, and where the most powerful force on the continent sleeps beneath a blanket of calm grassland, Yellowstone. Today we know it as a national treasure, geysers shooting boiling water into the air, bright pools glowing blue and gold, steam rising from the earth like the breath of a sleeping giant. But back then, more than 640,000 years ago, no one was around to appreciate its beauty. No humans to walk its valleys. No tourists with cameras. No scientists to warn what was coming. The ground had been swelling for centuries, though no creature understood why. Beneath Yellowstone was a magma chamber so massive, so unimaginably large, that if you could drain it onto the surface, it would bury entire states. For thousands of years, it had been rising, stretching the crust until it was thin as glass, pressure building, heat building, time ticking. And then, one day, the earth decided to rupture. It begins quietly, a faint tremor, barely enough to shake the leaves. Animals lift their heads, sensing danger long before the first explosion. But then the ground cracks open, splitting like a wound across miles. Jets of superheated gas roar upward. The forest ignites instantly. Birds fall from the sky, stunned by the shock waves. Then comes the main blast. Imagine the force of 1,000 nuclear bombs detonating in a single instant. The mountain doesn't explode, it disappears, erased by a column of ash so tall it punches through the stratosphere. The sky goes from blue to orange, then to black. The earth shakes so violently that lakes slosh out of their basins. Trees are stripped flat. Entire valleys collapse. In minutes, ash begins falling hundreds of miles away, smothering everything it touches. What's inhaled kills. What settles buries. What flows, the superheated pyroclastic clouds, moves faster than any animal alive can run. If you could have seen it from the air, you'd see North America choking under a cloud of ash stretching more than 1,000 miles. The sun vanishes behind a volcanic curtain. Temperatures drop. Acid rain falls. The world enters a long, dark, volcanic winter. That was Yellowstone's last supereruption, and its footprint is still visible today, carved into the land like a scar that never healed. But here's the part that matters now. Yellowstone didn't die after that explosion. It didn't burn out or exhaust itself or slip quietly into extinction. It slept, and even today, the giant is still breathing. Deep beneath Wyoming, magma continues to churn. Geysers erupt because of the heat trapped below. Ground rises and falls over the years, like the chest of something massive lying under the soil. Scientists watch it carefully, every tremor, every change in gas levels, every shift in the caldera floor. Yellowstone is monitored more than any volcano on Earth, and yet, if it ever decided to erupt again, there would be almost nothing we could do. Now imagine this. You wake up early on a normal Tuesday morning. Your phone buzzes with a strange notification. Unusual seismic activity detected Yellowstone region. At first, no one thinks much of it. Yellowstone has earthquakes all the time, little ones, harmless ones. But today is different. A second alert appears, then a third, each stronger. In Wyoming, the ground begins to swell rapidly, inches in hours. Geysers erupt violently and unpredictably. Steam vents crack open across the park. Buffalo flee across roads. Birds scatter in frantic clouds. The USGS begins an emergency briefing, broadcast live across every major news network. Scientists speak carefully, choosing every word like it might be their last safe one. Something unusual is happening beneath Yellowstone. We are not calling this an eruption yet. But while officials speak calmly, behind the scenes, they know the truth. If the pressure reaches a tipping point, if the crust tears open in even a single weak spot, the United States might be facing a disaster unlike anything in recorded history. Not an eruption you can evacuate from, not a volcano you can run away from, not a disaster limited to one region, a supereruption, the kind that darkens skies over the entire country. And somewhere deep underground, the magma chamber continues to rise, stretching the earth like a balloon. This is where the fear begins. This is where the countdown starts. This is where history prepares to repeat itself. At first, America treats it like breaking news, something dramatic to watch on TV, something unsettling but distant. Anchors speculate, experts argue. People scroll through social media trying to understand what's happening. But by noon, the tone changes. Live streams begin to show Yellowstone's geysers erupting non-stop, blasting water and steam like pressure valves, screaming open. Ground cracks widen across the park, releasing plumes of boiling vapor. Animals stampede in every direction, elk crashing through forests, wolves abandoning their territories, eagles fleeing the sky. It doesn't feel like nature anymore. It feels like a warning. USGS scientists gather in an underground emergency facility, staring at monitors filled with red pulses of seismic activity. Dozens of quakes, small at first, begin to cluster, creating a pattern that only means one thing. The magma is rising fast outside. Tourists trying to leave the park find roads buckling, sinking, twisting like rubber. Steam jets blast through asphalt like a lance. One of the iconic hot springs, usually calm and glassy, begins to churn violently, turning from turquoise to a cloudy, boiling white. By early afternoon, the evacuation order becomes mandatory. FEMA issues a nationwide statement: evacuate the Yellowstone region immediately. Millions living in Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming get the alerts simultaneously. Sirens scream across towns. Highways jam with cars. Emergency broadcasts interrupt every radio station. But for many, evacuation is already becoming impossible. Ash clouds start rising from small fissures, coating windshields, choking engines. The ground groans like something alive beneath it. Across the country, people gather around televisions. Schools pause classes. In New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles, crowds stop in the streets, staring at giant screens showing the growing plume of vapor rising over Wyoming. Then the earthquakes begin to intensify, not occasional anymore, but constant, a low rumble that never stops. Inside the USGS facility, alarms start flashing. A scientist whispers, barely audible, "The magma chamber lid, it's failing." The director of the Yellowstone Volcano Observatory takes a breath deep enough to steady his shaking voice, then issues the sentence no one ever wanted to hear. Yellowstone is entering a critical state. We cannot guarantee stability. Within minutes, an emergency meeting is held in Washington, D.C. The president is brought into a secure room. Advisors argue about possibilities: air travel shutdowns, food distribution, evacuation zones. But every plan sounds like trying to stop a hurricane with an umbrella. Because this isn't a normal eruption. This is the kind that could affect every city in America. Meanwhile, back at Yellowstone, a massive surge of heat hits the surface. Snow melts instantly. Trees burst into flame. A forest ridge collapses, sliding into a valley where boiling mud erupts from the ground like a volcano trying to claw its way upward. People nearby hear a sound, a hollow, echoing thunder that doesn't fade but gets louder, deeper, sharper. It's the sound of the caldera floor cracking. Sensors above the magma chamber start reporting impossible numbers. Temperatures spike, pressure graphs max out. The ground begins to bulge upward, visibly, rising inches by the minute. Then something unprecedented happens. All geysers in the park erupt at once. Old Faithful sends a superheated pillar of steam so high it disappears into the darkening sky. Other geysers follow, hundreds, blasting in chaotic, violent plumes. The entire park looks like a boiling world. People watching from helicopters feel the heat rising through the aircraft floor. Pilots pull away, shouting into radios that the air above the park is becoming unstable, shimmering, warping from the intense thermal surge. Then, across the western U.S., millions of cell phones buzz simultaneously. National emergency seek shelter indoors. In the next 30 minutes, America holds its breath. The world watches. Scientists shout over alarms. Magma pushes upward like a fist under the continent. And as evening approaches, Yellowstone reaches a breaking point. The earth goes silent. Animals freeze. Monitors. Even the earthquakes stop. A stillness so unnatural it feels like the entire planet has paused. For a moment, people hope. Maybe the worst has passed. Maybe the pressure is stabilizing. But deep below, the crust is thinning, stretching, glowing red, ready to tear open. The monster beneath Yellowstone, the same one that once blackened the sky for decades, is about to wake up again. And when it does, the first thing America will hear is the sound of the world ending. The moment arrives without warning. At 7:42 p.m., as millions watch live feeds, the ground at Yellowstone lifts, not inches, not feet, but several meters, rising like the surface of a giant drum pulled tight. Then a blinding flash, a sound like the planet tearing open, and the sky turns white. For the first 3 seconds, cameras simply go silent. Microphones overload. The shockwave outruns the sound. Seconds later, the blast hits. Every drone, every helicopter, every live feed instantly cuts to static. Windows shatter in towns dozens of miles away. Car alarms erupt in unison. People fall to the ground as a pressure wave ripples across the entire region, louder than any bomb humans have ever created. Above Yellowstone, a column of ash erupts upward at 1,000 miles per hour, punching straight into the stratosphere, climbing 20, 30, 40 miles high. It's not a plume, it's not a cloud, it's a tower of darkness, so massive it casts a moving shadow across half the country. Lightning spirals through the ash column like white veins in black stone. Thunderclaps echo across the Rockies as static electricity builds. Superheated rock glowing molten shoots into the air, raining back across thousands of square miles. Inside the blast zone, forests ignite instantly. Rivers boil. Bison and elk vanish in waves of burning ash. The entire park becomes an inferno. And this is just the first minute. The ash fallout begins in Montana, Idaho, Wyoming. Daylight ends before the sun actually sets. Within 20 minutes, ash begins falling like gray snow, coating cars, houses, and highways. People try to drive, but engines choke immediately. Volcanic ash is glass, and it kills machinery the moment it enters. FEMA issues another alert. Do not go outside. Cover all air intakes. Ash is lethal, but the ash doesn't stay local. High-altitude winds grab the plume and drag it east, darkening the skies over the Dakotas, Nebraska, Kansas. Airports shut down nationwide. Within an hour, New York and Washington, D.C. announce immediate grounding of all flights. America is entering a no-fly era. The sky belongs to Yellowstone now. The supereruption phase, then the real nightmare begins. The initial blast was just the venting, the opening of the Earth's wound. Now the caldera unleashes its full power. A superheated pyroclastic flow, a rolling cloud of ash, gas, and rock, hotter than 10 degrees Celsius, explodes outward at highway speeds. Nothing outruns it. It wipes out everything within 60 miles of Yellowstone in minutes. Towns, forests, lakes, gone. Even farther away, the shockwave shatters buildings, ruptures pipelines, and knocks out power stations. The western U.S. grid collapses. Millions lose electricity. The sky over America turns black as the eruption continues. Ash climbs high enough to wrap around the Earth. Sunlight fades. Temperatures begin dropping. Scientists call it a volcanic winter, a global cooling event that can last years. But for people watching from their windows, it's simpler. It looks like night has swallowed the world. Streetlights turn on at noon. Ash coats crops from Texas to Michigan. Solar panels fail. Air quality becomes toxic. Across America, supermarkets empty out. Gas stations shut down. Communication networks flicker as satellites struggle with the ash cloud. For the first time in modern history, the United States feels powerless. The global chain reaction around the world. Europe grounds all flights, Asia halts, agricultural exports, stock markets crash, food prices skyrocket, emergency meetings convene at the UN. The world realizes this is not just an American disaster, it's a global one, because Yellowstone has done this before. And the last time it erupted at this scale, it nearly wiped out entire species. One last eruption, and then silence. Hours later, after endless roaring, the Earth gives one final, deafening exhale. A massive collapse. The caldera floor buckles. The eruption column swirls violently, then begins to die out. The last explosion sends a shockwave that circles the globe multiple times. Seismometers in Japan and Australia record it clearly. Then, the fire dims, the darkness settles, and Yellowstone, the sleeping giant that had been gathering strength for 500,000 years, finally goes quiet. The world, America, wakes up to in the days that follow. The U.S. looks unrecognizable, states buried under feet of ash, highways invisible, rivers poisoned, power grids destroyed, millions displaced, a dim, cold, gray atmosphere stretching horizon to horizon. America has entered a new chapter, not the end, but a transformation. And as survivors step outside, looking at the darkened sky, one chilling truth becomes clear. We were never in control. The Earth has always been the one holding the timeline.